we are once again here with you with another topic, and with Ketan Gandhi here again, and his passionate subjects. So let me introduce Ketan, though most of you actually know, but many people are new, and I think we should do this ritual as such. So Ketan Gandhi is a very long experienced person, over 26 years in the industry. He is an alumnus of IIM Ahmedabad, Harvard Business School, and Life Academy, Sweden. In his long experience, he has worked in various sectors, like steel, power and energy, wind power, pulp, paper, chemical, and not only in India, he has worked over 16 countries. Yes, so it's a long experience, and I am seeing it for many years, and I see the kind of passion he has in teaching, especially these management subjects. He has a long experience in teaching and training and building case studies and teaching how to train, how to teach in case method using case studies. He has published several case studies in various journals as such. I'm seeing it for many years, and especially has come here in PMCP is one of the leader who is running this initiative, and I'm seeing it continuously for many years. The kind of passion he has put into his webinars in subject and trainings, I think it's found rare in the industry. So we are back again here with Ketan Gandhi. Ketan, please take over this and move ahead. Just one more announcement. You have any question, please put this into the chat box. And I myself and Kalyan Raman is also there, who is watching the chat box for the questions or any views, etc. Whenever Ketan asks you to share your views. Please, Ketan, over to you. Oh, we lost him at the right time. I don't see him. Well,
Vivek, you run the presentation, so I disconnect.
Sure, I will connect I will.
Yeah.
The presentation. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all of you. I think you all are joining from different time zones. So thank you very much and welcome you once again. Yeah. Next slide, please, Vivek. Okay. So as in Project Managers Club of Pune, we always do is try to find out the reasons and build context. So a quick question for all of you. Why are you investing 90 minutes of your time in this program? So please unmute yourself and you can speak, or you can just write it down in the chat box. It's very important for all of us to know, why are you investing? Yes, anyone?
Yeah, we have received a response.
As I can see, one comment is already there.
Yeah. Becoming a powerful PM.
Okay.
Life is all about persuasion.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah.
Second one. That's the second one.
Okay. Yes, anyone else?
In my case, learning is continuous for me. So yeah, it is important for me to invest time in upskilling myself. So that's the reason I'm here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anyone else? Okay, to learn from the experience, the industry, okay. Learning is a continuous process. Wonderful. So while Project Managers Club of Pune and organizing committee has also certain objectives. That why Project Managers Club of Pune is investing into monthly program since last 6.5 years now. Okay, there is a social media influencer.
Yeah. Very interesting topic. Let's see.
Yes, yes. Okay, wonderful. Vivek, next slide, please. Next, yeah. So I think one of the objective, which you might not have specified, but I think it is for all of us, it's important to understand that why person A says yes to person B's request. Now, person A and B can be anybody. You can be A, I can be B, I can be A, you can be B, right? And which techniques are most effectively used, or which techniques are most effectively working to bring such compliance? Because when one person says yes to another person for a business deal or for a job or for any transaction, there is a compliance. There is one person is complying to other person's requests. So it is very important for us to understand that are there any tools and techniques which are being used. And sometimes we all might have observed that when we raise a request or when we share a request to someone and we speak or we use certain words or language or a tone, it may not work. But when we speak differently, it may work. So that also aspect we need to understand and we need to be mindful about. And one of the objectives for all of us here who are joining this program is, how can I master this skill? Because it is very important for us, all of us, to understand that these knowledge or any such tools, techniques, or experiences are not just for the brain or not just for our knowledge purpose, that we are just acquiring knowledge, and unless we practice it, unless we get benefit out of it, unless we become more and more skillful, it will not be of a use, right? So one of the objectives of this session is also to become master of this the skill. Yeah. Next slide, please. Yeah. Just click a couple of times. One more. Okay. So normally, when we are dealing with other person, suppose I am person A, I am sending a communication, and person B is receiving a communication. Person B, of course, pays attention, and there could be some thinking, there could be a comprehension about what I have spoken so far or what I have requested. Either person agrees with the point, or maybe person says, no, I don't agree. If the person agrees, then person may be, trying to act on the request. And then there will be a visible sign or visible change that person A will observe. So this is how the entire process or the outcome, you can say. So when any person influences other person, this is the process, and these are the people who will be involved. Now, it may happen that you are a team leader or you are a general manager of your company, and you might be influencing the group of people. In that case, on the other side, instead of one person, there could be a group of people. But the process will remain same. In fact, in the group of people, it might be a little bit complicated because there could be a dynamics between among the people also will play an important role into, but that's a separate point for discussion. So we need to understand that if we are looking at the outcome, it's not just we as an individual are 100% responsible for the outcome. There's also another person or the group of people who are there. And the entire process of communication, then other person is paying attention or not, whether the other person will be able to understand or not. So there's a lot of sub processes also will be there before we see a visible change. So we need to be mindful about this entire process. So here the role of other person with whom we are dealing is very, very important. So sometimes we are on this side, sometimes we are on that side. But it is very important for us to understand that what is my current, you can say, influencing ability or persuasion ability, right? Or a skill. So there is a short survey which will have 5 questions. It's a self-assessment. Actually, the detailed survey is actually consist about 30 or 35 questions. But because time is short and it is very difficult to administer that kind of survey or self-assessment in such program, we have shortened it to 5 questions, which will give some indication about our professional influencing ability as far as organizational context is concerned. So please keep your pen and paper ready. You have to just write A, B, and C. There will be a question and there will be 3 options, A, B, and C. So select the one option out of A, B, and C, and just write down question number 1. You are selecting A, B, or C. So there will be 5 questions, and you will be selecting 5 A, B, or C. And at the end of, after 5 questions, we will see a score, and there could be also interpretation of the score. Yeah. Next slide, please, Vivek. Okay, so this is your question number 1. Once you finish selecting, then you can just write down in chat box so we can move on to the next question. Okay, done. Yes. Okay. Vivek, next slide, please. Yeah, this ABC, you don't have to type it. You just keep it in your paper or in your phone, and then you can check your score. This is a quick self-assessment.
I think we can
Okay.
move on to the next.
Okay. Next, please, Vivek. Okay. Next one. Select the most prominent can show in your professional world that will give you a correct self-assessment. Okay, all 5 done. You have selected your A, B's, and C.
Shall I move to next?
Yeah, next slide, please. So we can just look at the interpretation. So all the A's you can put A1, all the B's you can replace it with 2, and all the C's you can replace it with 3, and just add up all of your 5 total. Next click. So if your score is between 13 to 15, then your ability of in a professional context of influencing is really high, at a higher level, and that's really a good sign. If your score is between 9 to 12, then it can be better. There could be 1 or 2 areas that you might need to look at it, just to improve on those aspects. If you are 8 or below, nothing to worry. There could be some gaps, and you can always bridge the gap. And this program could give you some inputs about how to bridge the gap. So this is just a quick self-assessment, nothing to worry about. It's not an alarming situation, but it will definitely give you some perspective about the key areas of what should be done and what can be improved. Now, we always try to understand that why persuasion is so important. Why should we pay focus on it? And during our education or during our professional training, whether there were such sincere efforts by organization or by universities or by our own initiatives, own persuasion or influencing ability, you may find that there's not much, unless you have selected a certain subjects or a certain course, there is not much attention that normally you pay on these skills. It is understood that everyone has these skills and everyone is already doing it in some or the other context. But when we look at it, what is happening around the world, persuasion is how people gain power. So if we are talking about a country or a government formation, or maybe a geopolitical issues, this is where the persuasion is being used extensively. This is how people create wealth. This is how entrepreneurs and businesses, they thrive their businesses. This is how the books are published. Books are what? Books are definitely the researcher or the writer is trying to influence or trying to pursue other people to bring certain changes. This is how the products, services, or properties are being sold or purchased. This is how website, we buy goods on website through e-commerce. And of course, within family, in our friend circle, in our social relationships, persuasion is there. So when we say why persuasion, it is actually a lifeblood of our effective day-to-day living. That means we cannot ignore and we cannot just leave the persuasion as it is. If we can improve persuasion or if we can improve our influencing abilities, it will always help all of us. Next slide, please. Vivek, next. Yeah. Now we need to understand that persuasion 30 years ago and persuasion today has completely changed. Why it has changed? Because in today's time, consumers or employees or people or family members, they are now more aware about manipulative tactics being used by someone, which 30 years ago, we never imagined that there could be such manipulative tactics, people might be using it. But today, even if we receive a phone call from an unknown number, we may have a suspicion that there could be some manipulation, there could be some issues. Second reason is we are all bombarded with messages and ads and one-to-one or wall-to-wall marketing. So much with the technology and with the media and And with social media, it's all bombarding is happening 24/7. Now, this bombarding, what is the impact of this bombarding is it has made us cynical. You know, we hardly trust any brand or any product when they write or they claim in their advertising, which 30 years ago was a different situation. We are also fed up with the push approach. You look at the banks, look at any other organization, they are pushing their products, they are pushing the services to customer. There's more supply than the demand of the products or services in most of the sectors. And that is the reason the companies and people are pushing. Their approach is to push their product to convince customers. And because of that also, we are quite skeptical before we take a decision. Another important point why persuasion has changed is during last 20 years, the maximum research has happened in the field of persuasion. Now, you may say persuasion research has been happening for last 100 years. So why we are focusing so much on 20 years? Because in this 20 years, there is a convergence of different disciplines like psychology, social science, neuroscience, medical research, business research, and there are a lot of evidences and proofs, not just the claims in research, but there are medical records or there are MRI scans of the people who were part of the research studies. So today we know much more about persuasion and influence than we were knowing 20 years ago. And this is even for the scientists, even for the doctors, even for medical professionals or neuroscience or psychologists. Last 20 years were very, very important. And we have to be thankful about all the research which has happened. That is the reason, next slide, please. That is the reason that if we think that old tricks of persuasion will work in today's time, probably we might have to rethink about it. It may not work. 30 years ago, in a business, you might be successful using certain tactics of persuasion, but today it may not work. And these are the reasons. So we have to also understand that the time has changed, people have changed, information, a lot of information availability and the experience of people made them cynical or skeptical about any persuasion efforts. And that's why we need to also bring change in our approach. Next slide. Okay. In spite of all this, if you refer any books or courses available, or maybe some videos available on internet, the title itself will say that you will use this tactics and you will get anything and everything from other person. Now, there is still a lot of focus on manipulative tactics. Now, there is a very thin line between the influence or persuasion and the manipulation. When our intention is not good, when we are taking unethical approach to pursue someone for some individual gain, then it can be called as a manipulation. Now, manipulation also works, and that's how we have seen how even mass manipulation also work in politics, but those manipulations will be short-lived. It will come at the cost of the relationship. Maybe in a short term, you may get gain, but in long term, it will not work. So I would never suggest that you go to that stage, even though basic principles of influence, persuasion, and manipulation, you may find very similar approaches, but this is outdated strategy. So all the companies which are manipulating customers, they are out of business or they are not doing well. So it is always, because it will always come at the expense of relationship and reputation. So don't do that. and any book or any video or any course, just because they want to sell it. They are just sensationalizing their title and telling people that you can gain anything and everything from other people. After today's session, you will also agree with me that it's not reality. It may not happen that way. Even if we try to apply these principles, it will be very difficult in today's world. So never ever do that. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, so who is doing persuasion? Yeah, wait. Who is doing persuasion? We need to understand. So there are a couple of examples I already listed. Advertising is nothing but a persuasion. Company is doing to customer. Political campaign is also persuasion, while political party is trying to influence voters. Can you give some examples of such persuasion being implemented or persuasion being done by some of the agencies or organization or people? Any other example you can give? One is, of course, advertising, which is one of the major efforts companies are doing it. If anyone can give any other example, who is doing persuasion?
This is Sudhanshu.
Yes.
Because
go ahead.
after pandemic, because of this great resignation wave which is happening, most of the companies are pursuing the new entrants or recruits to join their company. Salaries are going whichever way, bands are all shaken. That is okay.
So recruiters are also doing persuasion, right?
Yeah.
Companies.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Anybody else? I can see there are a couple of responses. Kalyan, if you can tell those responses.
Yeah. One response is good, which is about departmental stores. Then there is the event managers. So these are all linked to what you talked about advertising. So this is different form of persuasion.
Okay.
Similar. Then there is a HR department. Somebody has mentioned about HR. Which,
HR is always pursuing other people, employees, or maybe a top management or a union, for example. That's their job. Okay.
Then other opinion is about company layoff.
What about project managers? They also influence a lot, right? They also pursue stakeholders.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Vivek, go to next points. Couple of you can press couple of keys. Yeah. Okay, so public health campaign, what we see from government is also a persuasion. And we have seen in last 2 years, our government has done a lot of such campaigning, and it's still continuing. Between government to government or between government and organization, there are conflicts and there are a lot of persuasion also happens across the border. Management people like business owner or leadership team also doing persuasion to employees. Similarly, employees also pursue their leadership team as well. Yeah, next click. Okay. Teacher, the role of teacher is also to pursue students about the courses and knowledge and skills, etc. Mentor, coach, media agencies, news agencies, or newspaper, television. Pharma companies are doing it. Yeah, all organizations, they are doing it. But look at the salespeople. The job of salespeople is to pursue their customers, right? Okay. So if you look at it, many more such categories will emerge. That means anybody and everybody is actually trying to do persuasion. They are following it unknowingly, unconsciously. But that's what they do every day, right? Okay. Next slide, please. Now, if any of you have gone through this kind of situation, just look at this situation. In your professional career, you might have a lot of evidences and a lot of logical arguments, but sometimes the other person, you are not able to change their mind, right? It might have happened sometime in the past. You are given a presentation and quotation to your customer, but customer places the order to your competitors. So you are not getting order, but competitor is getting orders. You might have great ideas and suggestions, but your boss or team members, they don't accept. Now, if this situation, I mean, there can be hundreds of such situations, but if this situation sounds familiar to you, you are not alone. We all have passed through this situation. We have learned from such failures. We have tried to improve our approach, and this learning is a lifelong process, as Kalyan has mentioned. So if we face this kind of difficulties or situation, definitely some of the tools and techniques that we are going to discuss today will definitely help you to reduce number of such situations in your professional career. Now, the key question here is, people are not motivated to do what you want them to do. Now, this is a question to all of you. If you can give quick answers, why people are not motivated to do what you want them to do. For example, you are a general manager or team leader of your company. You want your people to give fast response to your customers, but somehow they don't do it. They are not convinced. Can you give some reasons based on your individual experience? And this happens in our family as well. Sometimes our spouse or maybe our kids or maybe elders, we want them to do something, but they have different ideas. Okay, so there are a couple of responses. Kalyan, if you can. Lack of trust. Okay.
Lack of
Other
trust.
priorities, yeah, very important. They might have other priorities. So even if you have valid arguments, even if you have good points, but their priorities are different. Okay.
Then not convinced enough to accept it or to take that, to do what you have suggested. So
Okay.
then reverse psychology is one viewpoint. And so there are, of course, many reasons what we could talk about.
Yeah, many reasons, but based on practical experience, if we can get few inputs, it will always help in our learning as well.
Somebody has also mentioned laziness as one of the reasons. So yeah, you may not have conveyed the real benefits to the people.
Okay.
So
Yeah. So somewhere the person who is communicating, there could be some issue.
Yeah.
Somewhere on the other person, when the other person is thinking or not paying attention, could be an issue. Okay. Good, interesting. I mean, thank you all for sharing these points. They're all valuable learning.
Conflict of interest. Yes, that's a good
Conflict of interest, age difference,
Yeah.
thinking difference. Okay. Okay. Yeah. A few more clicks, Vivek. Okay. Well, no. Go back. Yeah. So yeah, these are all valid reasons. But I think if we club them together, we can all club them into these three major categories. They don't feel your need or urgency. Yeah, because you might be operating at a different level, you have a different perspective or context, but they may not be understanding that. You may be feeling urgency, but they don't feel that urgency. They have their own priorities, as a couple of you have mentioned. But another third important most reason is they have their own hidden agenda or reasons, which they may not share also. And it is very difficult for us to find out what is the hidden reason why the person is not agreeing to what we are trying to say. So you can club them into these three major categories. And of course, from the organization point of view, the communication, that we may fail into communicating the message or the context, or other person may fail to understand what we are trying to say. So those are quite valid reasons why it is difficult. Okay. Yeah. Next slide, please. Now, in one of the programs, similar session in a company, one of the employee asked me that you are an expert on persuasion and influence. So can you influence me? Can you demonstrate that you can persuade me? Now, my question to you is that simple? Is it that simple? When someone is challenging you or asking you to persuade, what do you think? What do you think would be my response? If you are in my place, what would have been your response?
Obviously, it is not a simple task.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Kalyan. Yeah. So it was very difficult to give answers. I just said that maybe you can give me 40 more minutes, and then I will answer your question. Because
Just
it's
one
very
thing, just one thing, Mr. Gandhi.
Yeah.
People say that it is Sama Dama Danda Bhed, but I'm sure that it is much more than that, which I'm sure it will come out of your session.
Yeah. Yes, it's a very important point. We will discuss that because in today's era, this Samdam Dandabhed is actually not actually working the way ideally we want to influence the generation. Especially Generation Z is not going to be influenced by Samdam Dandabhed. So
Yeah,
yeah.
we will have to translate that, Ketan, because there are people from outside India also. They need to understand.
Okay. Yeah. We'll discuss that point about that. But yes, it's not that simple. If someone says that you pursue me or you influence me, and if the person internally has decided that I will not, whatever is the message, I will not going to follow, then it's very difficult. Yeah.
I just want to say
So-
one thing. The Sam, Dam, Bhed and Dand, that's the sequence actually, and Sam means persuasion actually. Sam does mean persuasion. That is the first approach is persuasion.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are going through these topics and techniques, but honestly, it may not work every time. Now, why it may not work every time? Because if the counter argument is so overpowering, because when we say we have a good arguments and when we communicate to other person will have to follow what we are saying, then here we are assuming that our argument is the highest power or much beneficial than anybody else. But in real world, there could be other counter arguments which we might not have thought of when we send a request. But then counter argument is overpowering. It's very positive. It's something innovative, something new. In that case, even we might have to consider that. Yeah, let us accept that, and we might have to influence by that counter argument. So don't think that every time when you apply these tools and techniques, it has to work. It may not work. There are a number of reasons, but sometimes counter argument is also very, very important and overpowering, and you may be convinced that yes, the counter argument is really good. Another important fact is no one can be persuaded to do something if he or she doesn't want to do it. Period. If I have decided that whatever incentive you give me, whatever you can tell me, I'm not going to do. Now, in that case, it is very difficult to persuade that person because then person has gone to the extreme level of resistance that I'm not going to change. I'm not going to implement this. So there could be a different approach will be required in those situations. It comes into how to handle those difficult people or how to negotiate or how to pursue those most complex or difficult people. It require a different comprehensive strategy. But yes, when you apply this in day-to-day life, you will get more yeses than what probably you might have been getting today. And these are all points that I'm trying to implement in my professional and personal life. And I've seen there are quite a few good benefits and more yeses over a period of time. 20 years ago, I was not getting so many yeses, but then in the last 20 years, 21 years, I felt that, yeah, these points are really working. So I'm sure if you implement it from today, starting from this session itself, and after 30 days, when you attend the next session of PMCP, and if you can share your experiences, how many more yeses that you have received in this 1 month, then we will feel that, yes, we have contributed something very useful and very important into other people's life. So please feel free, try as much as you can in your day-to-day life, and then come back and share your feedback. Yeah, next slide, please. Vivek. Okay, so when you start applying, I know that it is very difficult for all of you because it's another webinar. And for last 1.5 years or close to 2 years, we have been going through several webinars, right? So it may be another 90 minutes, a long duration webinar for you. I know it's very, very difficult to pay attention to 90 minutes, and that too after your long work day that you have worked for the whole day and then you are attending a session. You might have certain other priorities, and your to-do list for today's to-do list is still there are few pending tasks. VUCA time is continuing. We are into 3rd year of pandemic, and situation is not very clear. So I know it is very difficult for you to pay attention and to apply this consciously. But if you are ready, are you ready? Are you ready to apply some of these principles? Okay, then it will really help all of us together, that we share, we learn, and we celebrate together that yes, something good is happening, and then we celebrate together. Thank you very much. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, next click. So persuasion is a process. We need to understand that when we say persuasion, it is a process, and it's a long process. We have seen there are 2 people or maybe a group of people involved, or maybe a government and citizens are involved. There is an active attempt from one side to change other side's attitude, belief, and behavior, and primarily through communication. It's very, very important when we say we want to pursue somebody, and there has to be a communication. Without communication, other person will not be able to understand what you are trying to communicate, or what really change you are looking at. Remember, not all communication is persuasive. So we should not be too focused on persuasion and make every communication as persuasion. Then we are burdening ourselves and other people. But yes, when you are communicating, that's like a stimulus. And then when you see the change in the attitude or behavior of the other person, that's the effect. So you have given a stimulus, and then you can see the effect, whether it is working or not. And look at that, what advertisement is doing in modern day television ads or print media ads. They are all trying to actively change our buying behavior, right? And they are communicating to us through various method and various media. And how they see the change in effect, they see how many number of units that they have sold in the market. They see from the market share. They see from the turnover that they are making. So persuasion is happening, and it is happening around us every day, 24/7. Next slide, please. Yeah. Yes, and we have seen this. This is another, the revision of what we have seen. There are 2 sides involved. There's a communication involved. There is a comprehension. There is a paying attention. There's an agreement or disagreement. There is a visible change or no change that is also visible. So all this is happening, and you need to observe this. You need to be mindful about. Next slide, please. Okay, now persuasion can also be called as intellectual heavy lifting. It's a good word to remember. We know that in a gym, when we go, we do heavy lifting and we strengthen our muscle, our body. Similarly, using persuasion and influencing tools, we are actually strengthening our brain, our mind. It is nothing but ethically winning the heart and mind of others. So it's a common definition, I mean, very simple definition for a layman. And I like this definition, is that once we win heart and mind of other person, then definitely we have created that influence. We have persuaded the person very well, right? And this can only happen when we understand the group or individual. When we look at how to increase a value of our offerings or decrease the resistance, there are only two possibilities. When we are trying to communicate something, then we are offering a value. So either we increase that value or we trying to decrease the resistance of the person, or maybe simultaneously happen. We need to also look at the right time to persuade. So we also have to see, try to find the right time for that efforts. Sometimes our holistic objective is there. We have understand the person well, we have good offering, but it's not right time to pursue other person. In that case, we need to wait for the right time to persuade the person. We need to use the right words, and we need to also use right non-verbal communication. Our non-verbal communication, which is through our facial expression, through our hand movements, through our body posture, all this should be in sync with the kind of words that we are speaking. Because when we are communicating with any other person is observing both our words, our tone of the language, at the same time our body language as well. So once we have the right words and right body language, and then when we communicate, when we execute that, then we can very well expect that yes, something good is going to happen. Visible change is going to happen, which is a win-win situation for both sides of the people. Next slide, please. Next bit. Okay. Now, my approach for any such new knowledge or any such finding is just to look at what on the same topic, what different disciplines, what different field of researchers or experts, field experts, what they are saying. What is their view? And is there any convergence among those multidisciplinary approach? So interestingly, I did this research as well. I keep continuously trying to learn and also keep updated on few important topics. So in persuasion, it was very interesting to know that this is not a 100-year-old topic. In an ancient Greek time, the Aristotle was the first. And if we go back to our scriptures, then Ramayana and Mahabharata and all the historical scriptures that we have, there are a lot of traces and lot of stories and lot of evidences that the persuasion is not something that we have realized in last 100 years. It has been there for a couple of thousand years, and there are documentation available for us to look at those ancient time and those scriptures as well. So in ancient world, it was all about influencing through speech and writing. So normally kings and the mantris and the people in the office, people in the power, they were writing speeches and they were conveying the messages to the masses, and that's how they were trying to influence people. There is a lot of research happening in the history and political science that what is the impact of propaganda in shaping the history of the world, whether it is a World War I, World War II, or any such major Cold War in the 80s, or any such event that we see. There might be some propaganda by a country or by a group of countries, and it is very interesting to also look at this research. The business is all full of influencing because it's everyday affair. And there is a lot of efforts going on influencing the attitude and behavior of the people or the team. And there are many research papers available in business as well. The psychology has been actively researching on persuasion, that what happens when somebody is trying to pursue other person. So there the focus is on looking at the individual behavior. Neuroscience is in last 20 years have created, have done research, and a lot of evidence is available in the form of MRI images. And one of the image I'm going to share, show it today also, that what happens when someone is influencing other person? What happens inside the body? What happens inside the mind? And why and how the person is taking a decision to bring a change. It's a very interesting convergence of all the research of different disciplines. And there are a lot of learnings for us and a lot of evidence that yes, persuasion is very important and it's possible to master these skills. Next slide, please.
One more thing which I want to say, that
Yes.
Gita is a very good example of persuasion, isn't it?
Yeah, true. It is between Lord Krishna and Arjuna. Yeah, it was a great effort of persuasion. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. So if you look at Aristotle, and there are a lot of books and articles available, so we'll not go into the detail, but it's all about ethos, pathos, and logos. So if we establish a trust, we evoke emotions of the person, and we explain the logic. That's the summary of this Greek theory by Aristotle. In that case, we will be successful in writing speeches and pursuing other people. For those who are interested, please go through the books and articles available on this ethos, pathos, and logos. You will get a lot of good insight. Next slide, please. Okay. I always look at neuroscience and psychology and many other new medical discipline emerging, like psycho, neuroimmunology, and many other new disciplines are emerging. So what neuroscience says about persuasion is that emotion triggers a rush of neurochemicals in both brains. Emotions are there, and if there are emotions, then only there could be a syncing between two brains. So speaker and listener are in sync in one direction, if there are emotions involved into it. Now, that means that if someone is very happy and someone is sad, that means the emotions are different, right? In that case, if one person is out of two, one person is trying to influence or persuade other person, it may not happen because the emotions are playing a major role, because both are in a different.
I think we have lost him. Must be joining back. Let's wait for a minute. Yes, Ketan.
There was an interruption.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have to look at the emotions of our emotion as well as emotions of other person, just for the sync purpose. Then we can get a better results. Next slide, please. Vivek, next slide.
It's there. You want me to move forward?
Now it's visible.
Okay.
Okay. So this is what this medical research that I was talking about, and this was a research in 2019. There is a brain part which is called amygdala. So when we have emotions, then amygdala reacts to it. It alerts the brain, and the front side of our brain, which is called prefrontal cortex, that integrates all the information in the memory and all other information before making a decision. So during the research, this MRI scans of those hundreds of people were taken, and it was proved that yes, the emotions are playing a huge role in a person making a decision or person taking a decision for a change. And this was a very recent research. And in that research paper, if you look at it, it's available on internet. Even in the last paragraph, it says that we have just scratched the surface. There is so much more to be, we have to do so much research in this field before we actually can conclusively say something about it. But this is what is the recent research. The next slide, please. Okay, now we use the word influence as well as persuasion. So influence is what we call as a power of an individual or a thing to affect other person. And in persuasion is a process. So we can say influence is what the outcome of our persuasion process. That way we can link both together. And ultimately, we all are looking at or trying to improve our influence on other person or other organization. It's our capacity to become a compelling force that produces the effect on the opinions, actions, and behavior. That is the end result of our persuasion efforts or process. And when we are able to change other person's opinion, actions, and behavior, then we can say, yes, we have an influence on other person. The next slide, please. Okay, there are 4 levels. The Maxwell has wonderfully presented this model of 4 levels. It states that the first level is the model. That means we exhibit the change, we become example, and then other people look at us and they try to model us. So that is a level 1. So when we look at the teachers and parents, they are obviously influencing the students or the children is by modeling. That is always a level 1. Level 2 is about when you motivate someone to bring a change or to influence other person through motivation, then it's a level 2. Level 3 is mentoring, where you get an opportunity to work with individual one-on-one, and you help other person to bring a change. That is the influence level 3. And the level 4 is multiply. Multiplication is when you have influenced other people, and if those other people are trying to, or other people influences another set of people, that's how your efforts have been multiplied. And with the Project Managers Club of Pune, what we are trying to do is we are trying to multiply the effect of knowledge and experience, sharing with others, so that you can also share with your team members, and this is how it multiplies. And I think everyone passed through these levels. So you can look at which level you are right now, but ultimately you have to achieve the level of multiplication, because whatever you have gained through experience or your knowledge, definitely you can influence others, and those others will influence other people. That is how it will multiply. So keep these 4 levels of multiplication in mind. But it always starts with setting an example by ourselves. So we lead by example, we set example, we follow, and then other people will see. It is one of the best form of level 1 influence. Next slide, please. Now, this is a question, yeah. Are you an influencer? Vivek has pressed another key, but that's okay. So if your life in any way is connected with people, that means you are an influencer. Whether you like it or not, it has no relation with the age or designation or education or experience. Even a 4-year-old kid is also an influencer. So just keep it in mind that we all are influencers in our life. Vivek, there is a comment, presentation is not visible. If you can. But I can see it, so.
Yeah, the presentation is visible.
Okay.
Let us
Okay,
hear
yeah.
from anybody else facing this issue. I can see the deck.
No, I can also see. Okay. Yeah, so Vivek, now you can press a couple of keys,
Okay.
1 or 2 keys. So,
That could be a local issue for somebody.
okay. So we all are influencers. So please keep this in mind, whether we like it or not. That means the question that we should be asking is, how do I increase my influence? That should be the right question. Not that whether I am really an influencer or not. You are influencer, I am influencer, we all are influencers. And we have to be aware about that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, yeah, wait. So can influencer be called as a leader? Now, you may not be designated as a leader in your organization. So can we say influencer is also a leader? What do you think? This is the question. If anybody can answer.
Hello, this is Sudhanshu.
Yes.
I don't feel influencer can always be called as a leader. Suppose
Okay.
a leader and a follower. No, even a follower will influence the leader, but he is not a leader.
Okay. Okay. Any other perspective?
No, I think influencer is a leader. So if
Okay.
follower is influencing the leader, in that time the follower is actually leading.
Right. Yeah, it's a situational leadership, what we call. And also when we look at the leadership definition, the one of the important dimension for any successful leader is whether that person is able to influence other followers, right? That's one of the important criteria.
True. True.
Yeah. So press few clicks, Vivek. Yes. So what I feel is that anyone who is influencing other person are leader. I mean, we may not be designated as a leader. I mean, in family, we have our family members like father and mother are influencing children, or children are influencing parents. We don't give a designation of leader, but somewhere I feel that we all are in the leadership. Maybe the degree of leadership may vary, but I think we need to understand that if we are aspiring to be a leader or we are already a leader, then influencing is one of the important dimensions that will be looked at in our performance appraisal, whether we are able to influence other people or not. So there are 2 more questions that we need to be asking. Yeah, Vivek, few clicks. So one is, should I improve my influence or not? Second is, should I choose to grow my influence? That is another question that should be asked. You should ask. If you are a leader, then definitely you will be interested. But if you are aspiring leader, then also this question you must ask. And you also have to ask whether you want to use your influence to better your family, company, society, country, mankind, or world or not. Because sometimes we are so engrossed and busy in our day-to-day life, we forget one of our action is that we are here on this earth to improve mankind. We are here to do something for the society. We are here to bring a change in the world, right? But we are so busy in our family, in our company, in our society, we may not be looking at this dimension. But somewhere we have to look at some stage in our life that what we are doing for the world, for the society. So I think everybody is a leader. If you are an influencer, you are also a leader as far as my understanding goes. And as a leader, you need to sharpen this influencing ability. Next slide, please. So when you attempt your influence, there are 7 possible outcomes. So let's say the middle outcome is no change. So you are trying to influence me and there is no change, is also one outcome. You are trying to influence me and I comply to your influence. That is one positive outcome. Instead of just stopping at compliance, I commit myself to that particular change. Then it's a higher level of influence. And if I lead and if I also influence others, it is one of the highest form of positive influence. Similarly, the 3 negative outcomes. Negative outcome is I am skeptical. You are trying to influence me, but I'm skeptical. So maybe I'm not ready for that. The second difficult level is a resistance, that I have a resistance in my mind. I'm not just skeptical, but I don't want to bring a change. I have certain belief or opinion, so I don't want to do it. And another that is extreme is a rebellion. That if you have, because you have tried to influence me, I will become rebellious and I will do something which even you might not have thought about it. That is an extreme form of counter efforts by other person. So no influence is also an outcome. No change is also an outcome, and it's okay. I mean, every time it's not possible to bring a change. It will take time. If our objectives are holistic, then we may pursue and then we may try to bring a person onto this right side of the green zone. Next slide, please. So keep this outcome in mind. There is always a neuroscientific resistance that we have to overcome in any person. So when you are trying to influence a person, and if the person has a prior belief, then better you don't try to impose your influencing or your persuasion at that moment. What is the solution for that? Start by finding out some common ground and then try to highlight that particular belief may not work in this particular situation. Because if someone has a very strong belief about something, in that case, it is really a challenge to overcome that resistance. Yeah. Okay, next slide, please. Keep this one point in mind. Another point is we can use these emotions on a positive side. So if we look at the mood of other person, and if we connect at the right time, and if we connect as per the mood, then definitely we can influence the person very well. And all the sales people are expert, HR people are expert in this. Those who are very, very successful, they try to look at the emotions of the people and then they influence at the right time. So if we are connected on an emotional level with someone, it's always easy to bring a change. The next slide, please. Okay. When we are trying to influence the other person, we don't know what is the state of the mind. And when other person is in a defensive mode, either threatened or maybe not, maybe afraid of something, in that case, the person is always looking at taking a defensive step, to salvage or to save what is available with them. But if the person is not threatened, if person is happy and is enthusiastic, is able to take risk at that time, the person can take risk as well. So when you are trying to look at the person or influence a person, look at what is the state of the mind. And when you ask a couple of questions, you'll come to know whether the person is maybe reason, maybe anything based on past experience or based on the current position. If the person is in that kind of mode where the person is trying to save, then don't give the growth option. Maybe you can give a right option, which can be a conservative option. But if the person is happy, good, enthusiastic, is ready to take risk, at that time you can give a growth option. Especially on a managerial level, when you are working on any business plan or new project, or you are suggesting some big change in your company, at that time you need to understand the leadership team mindset or owner's mindset, and depending on the situation, you can suggest the right change. Yeah, next slide, please. Okay, incentive always work. Anticipation of rewards beats fear. So if you can emphasize on reward of your proposal, then people will say yes. The opposite is also true. When you want to stop people behaving in some way, then the fear and warnings are also working. They are more powerful than incentive. And that's how we see government and many other authorities. They try to create a fear and give warnings, and they try to take punishment level actions. And sometimes it works well as well. It helps in changing the behavior of the people. So if incentives are not working, maybe the fear and warnings may work. Depending on situation, depending on who you are trying to influence, you can look at. But try to take incentive route first. Next slide, please. Give feeling of control. Yeah, it's a very good option. When you don't tell people what to do, you just facilitate them. When people feel that they are in control of bringing a change, or then they are ready to influence. So don't give orders, just give options and suggestions. So especially the sales people or HR people, if they are dealing with other people or customers, when they are not pushing too much, they are just giving options and suggestions, they are more successful than someone who is giving orders. Ask good questions, guide the people in achieving their objectives or a change. It will work much better. Next slide, please. Very important, when you want compliments from someone, you also have to give compliments to other people. Because we feel obligated when someone is giving us something. So it's very, very important that whatever change we would like to see, we should start implementing it. And if you give compliments, if you give feedback, if you give suggestions, people are going to reciprocate it. And this is one way of influencing, very important. The next slide. Okay, when so many people are doing it, there is a tendency of a people that yes, if many people are doing it, it's good for us, we should follow it. So when you are trying to pursue someone, and if let's say you are a sales manager or you are a project manager, you are trying to convince customer, and if your innovative solution is already followed by a couple of companies, you can always say that, look at, these are the many companies or people who have adopted. So it might be a good idea for you to also take a decision and use this tool. It will work very well because other people have also followed it. Next slide, please. Scarcity also works. A couple of years ago, there was a SARS virus vaccine, flu vaccine, and in other countries, there was a scarcity. So most of the people had gone for the vaccine. If there would not have been scarcity, people would not have gone for it. So when something is difficult or rare to get it, people are generally trying to go for it. The old belief is buyer look at features, and that's how all the sales literature, websites, they are designed, highlighting features of the product. the recent past belief was that no, buyers are not only looking at features, they are looking at benefits. But what recently, in last 3-4 years, many companies have started, or many successful salespeople have started doing it. They have started trying to emphasize on, when they are presenting to a customer, they say, what you will lose if you will not adopt this product or solution. What will be the disadvantage? What will be a loss that you will face if you will not use this particular product or a solution? And it is working very well in a business to business context. So if you are in a situation where the customer has a tough competition, you can use these kind of approach as well, and it works. Next slide, please. Yeah, so there's a question: is the seller creates artificial scarcity? We are living in an era of information, so the artificial scarcity is really not working, because customer they are aware about what is happening, and there are always competitors are there who are ready to sell the product or services to your customer. In communication, when you communicate, look at the quality, not the quantity of communication, but the quality is always wins over the quantity. So always customize your communication and focus on quality when you communicate. Next slide, please. There are 2 case studies we want to look at. Yeah, these are 2 case studies before we conclude. Please read this case study, and if
Kalyan here. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There is one more question on this topic, what you talked about so far. Are people who are high on EQ, emotional quotient, are they better at persuasion? That is the question asked by one of the parties.
Yes. Yeah, they are better because they are able to understand their own emotions. They are able to understand other people's emotions. They are able to build good relationship, and they are better. They are able to influence other people much better. You are right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, please go through this short case study and just quick analysis. What do you think could be a reason? Yes, anyone? Okay, there was a demand, there was an order, but isn't it in a company we need to support other department, right? And when the sales manager is trying to raise a request, is always maybe they are pressurized from customer. Any other reason? Any other analysis that you are? Thank you for your analysis. Yes, anyone? Okay. Practicality. Okay. But do you think customers are not pressurizing sales manager? They want everything immediately. That's what many of our experiences when we deal with customers, right?
Yeah, there's one more response. There should have been.
Yeah, sales manager should have checked with engineering. Yeah, okay, that's interesting. But do you think that sales managers are doing that, or they are upfront telling yes to customer because they want to win over customer? There's a competition. So there are practical ground realities.
Basically, we are looking at the art of here.
So I think most of the comment is the sales manager has not done the job well, right? That's what it is. okay, should discuss first internally. Okay.
Yeah, I think most of the people are looking that the sales manager have
Okay.
a good job.
Okay, I'll give you a small hint. Do you think the sales managers, and also we discussed in one of the previous slides, that sales manager's priority may not be the priority for engineering manager. Engineering manager might have a different priority, right?
Yeah.
So isn't it that could be a reason? Second, the engineering managers normally in any company would be a responsible people, because when they commit something on a technology or on a technical ground, they need to also look at some of the standards. They have to look at the design. They might have to prepare a drawing, or they might have to check with the vendor or a purchase department before they can commit something. So do you think engineering managers work the way sales managers are working? Are their personality types are the same? Are their job descriptions are the same? Just think on these lines. You probably will get
So
couple of
definitely,
more insight.
So I think we could relate to the emotional aspect also. The one of the slides which talked about, are they in sync? First of all, the sales manager and the engineering manager, are they in
Also
sync?
also engineering manager has not faced customer, right? So engineering manager doesn't know what is the situation on ground. But engineering people work differently. I think there is a personality difference between engineering and sales department. And if we are mindful about this, maybe the engineering manager also should understand why sales manager is asking for such drawings in such short time. There must be some reason, right? So there could be some compromising, but then it goes to negotiation and then goes to some other dimension. But this is a very common persuasion or influence example of success or a failure. Yeah, next slide, please. There's another case study, and I want you to look at that case study as well. Yes. What is your analysis on this particular case study? Isn't it a common practice that we prepare an organization chart, we do detailed manpower calculation and submit to higher management for approval?
It's absolutely common.
Yeah, it's quite common. Okay. Yeah. So why the engineering manager was not successful in getting approval?
Yeah,
maybe after 1 week.
Couple of comments have already flown through.
Yeah, please, if you can.
Yeah. So one is, lot of information has been given but not presented correctly to the audience. Engineering managers need to give a concise report, can have details as backup to get attention.
Okay.
Could have discussed it in a face-to-face meeting. There is a communication gap.
Okay.
Why this happened. So there are a few more messages. Such in-depth analysis does require a detailed discussion. Information could have been crisp. So
yeah, so here again we need to look at the personality. We are dealing with the owner. Do you think the owner will have that much time to go through 40-page detailed manpower planning calculation, which has come in email form? May not be, right?
Yeah. So
we need to understand, when we are dealing with other people, who is the other person? Whether my persuasion attempt or my influence, whether I will achieve the influence, which kind of process I should follow, who is the other person? There are a lot of things we need to look at before we. Similarly, owner also should appreciate, and depending on the context, owner also can have a different approach. But these are very common problems that we have, at least I've seen in 2 organizations. as client organization, and small things, but it can impact on delays, on deliveries, approval. It can also create a issue between interpersonal communication. The manager may feel that every time owner is not approving, owner is asking me to calculate the detailed manpower planning. I've been doing this for last 10 days and now another 1 week of extension, etc., etc. So the impact is huge. It's a small issue on influence or a persuasion, but yeah, Zara, you're right. One-page executive summary would be very important when you are dealing with the CEO kind of personality. So here it's very important to not just look at the basics, the techniques of influencing or persuasion, but we also have to look at which kind of personalities that we are dealing. There are 4 different kinds of personality that we need to look at. One is a kind of people which we can club them into a CEO or the owner kind of personality. The second personality type which we can look at the sales manager kind of personality, who are dealing with directly dealing with the customers, the people. The third category is the kind of HR people who are dealing with customer, who are dealing with internal processes. And the fourth category would be engineering managers or engineering kind of personality who work on a details. Their approach on anything will be different. Similarly, HR people might be very slow. They would be looking at the people dimension. They'll be looking at so many other dimensions before taking any action. So when sales manager are dealing with engineering manager or engineering manager dealing with the CEO kind of personality, we also need to look at which way they can be influenced, which way we should pursue other person, especially in the organizational context. So here the personality dimension, dominant personality type is also a very important factor. So I think we have a couple of minutes for any other questions that you might have before we conclude. You will get this presentation along with the video recording on a Facebook group. So those who have not joined Facebook group or a WhatsApp group, please join. If there are any other sharing that you might have, any other questions, please feel free. Any other reflection that you might have?
Before people ask question, let me ask one question. Is the incentive is also part of persuasion?
Which one?
Incentive. Incentive is part of persuasion.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, incentive is it works very well because there is something positive is going to come. So if I do something, I'm going to get incentive. Then it can more and more people can be following that path.
Okay.
Compared to the punishment that we follow. I think it's good to follow incentive, and the country which are following incentive, even for the income tax, simple letter from income tax department, which is addressed to the individual person in one of the I think it happened in UK. It improved the compliance by 30-40%. It's just the incentive of getting acknowledgement or recognition from the government. And I think we also have seen a lot of such initiatives taken by government or bureaucrats, and it is helping well. But if incentives are not working and people are not following, then for example, mask or other social distancing and all, or maybe helmet, then the only option available is to punish people.
Okay.
Yeah, when we are dealing with the mass. Okay, anyone? Yeah, any other reflection? Thank you very much.
Sir, I have one query.
Yeah,
yes,
please.
sir.
Yeah. So how you see about this active listening? for which we could not discuss too much on this. So I thought that active listening also, I mean, it's important to influence somebody else. Actually, first we need to
Yeah.
understand the other person's, like you mentioned, like state of mind. So
Yes.
whether it is the same thing or how you see this.
No. I mean, when we are trying to say something to someone, then we are obviously communicating, right? And that's where our body language and our words and our tone and everything will matter. But when there is a counter argument, when someone is trying to say, or even someone's body language is also very important for us to understand what will be the outcome of my influence. So the listening is obviously, when you communicate, then you have to pause and you have to listen what other person is saying, or even what other person is not saying. That also will have to be, because that will determine your next move, your next action, how to influence this person, because now the person is not going to not acting on this relation. So listening is also very important as far as influencing is concerned. It's part of the communication.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so please try to implement as much as you can, starting from today, from this session, with your family members, with spouses, with your employees. Try to change your message, try to change your request, try to reframe your request, apply for only 30 days, and then please share your findings, your improvements.
Sure. So,
Yeah.
Ketan, I think personally, I'm already influenced by attending your session. That would be my
Thank you.
takeaway duty. So this is the power of influence, or this is the power of persuasion, which you see. This session itself is a good example as to how you influence people positively. So I think this is the takeaway for me, and I'm sure a lot of people here have already shared their feedback about it. And this session alone doesn't end here. We have got very good pointers here. We have to develop our skill, take it up as a skill development opportunity, and keep on building on it. And I like your view that multiply is the best metric for you as a project manager or as a manager to see how well your skills of persuasion are being taken up by your next level or even your senior levels. I appreciate your time, Ketanji. Thank you very much for a very provoking, thoughtful session.
And thank you very much to all the audience.
Thank you very much.
And coming over here, spending time listening to this great session. I'm sure that this will influence the people's life, and in turn, they will influence other people, as I think it will explode, as Ketan rightly said. And I think we encourage people to share your experience.
Yeah.
Out in next maybe 2-3 weeks, and give us your experience. Probably we will make a space in next webinar for some of you to share some of the opinions and some of the experience.
I think good point, Vivek.
Yes.
I think we need to take feedback around maybe a last few sessions which have been differently from the syllabus or what we talk about from the academic aspect. We have moved on to the practical aspects of project manager's life. So it would be really encouraging if some of them can volunteer and say we can share some snippets about their learnings and how they have implemented these ideas. That would also motivate us further to cover new topics as we go along.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you
very much.
Thank you all.